Leslie Nielsen was so helpful. I'm still convinced that that was useful, Greg.
Thanks, Billy. I thought so. You know, it's like the one time I said that the ACC Commissioner John Swofford's brother was the singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to throw in a fact like that. You got to educate. You got to educate.
Was the singer what? Like, you're just going to throw that out there as if people know what you're talking about with ACC Commissioner John Swofford.
Right. His brother is the guy who sang "Good Morning, Starshine."
But the punchline of that joke needs to end with John Swofford. Like, you started it by saying ACC Commissioner when that's the punchline of it.
But I wouldn't know who John Swofford was, so it wouldn't be.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, thought everybody knew him.
He's also no longer the ACC commissioner.
Oh,
right,
wow.
former commissioner. But the singer is Nielsen. Is that correct? Not
Oliver.
Leslie Nielsen. Oliver. That's right. Well done.
Oliver Swofford?
Good morning, starshine.
When you're addressing like the current ACC commissioner, do you say the way you would in Batman, Commissioner Gordon? Do you say Commissioner Swofford?
Absolutely.
I think you have to. Swofford, there's something about Swofford that lends itself to nobody calling him John. It has to be
Right.
Commissioner Swofford.
I would demand it.
Yeah.
If I were the commissioner, you have to address me as such.
He still demands it. Call me former Commissioner Swofford.
What do you think is like the least important position in which people need to give you some sort of title like that?
Comptroller.
Comptroller.
I don't know what a comptroller does.
They control.
Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Do you know what a comptroller does? I want to talk about Succession, the HBO show, and put this on the poll as well at Batard Show. Is Succession a sitcom or a drama? Because it's both and it's great. But I think it might be more of a sitcom. But when I was walking into the studio right before we started, you guys were howling and somebody shouted, "Oh yeah, Legadoo Nane." And I need to know the backstory on what you guys were talking about that brought up the wonderful comedic name of, was he a Dolphins wide receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah, it came from the Chargers.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers made him, and then we tried to turn him into a great receiver for Miami. Didn't quite work out.
Is that the funniest name in? They've got some funny one. Lusaka Polite, some fun, but just comedically funny names.
I can only hear it in Jimmy Cephalo's voice.
Legadoo Nane.
It's a song. I expect Legadoo Nane to be running down the sideline for 80 yards.
Sounds like a Star Wars character.
It does. Or the mascot of Legoland. Perfect name for the mascot.
Is Succession, Mike, a comedy or a sitcom? I mean, you watch Succession, right?
I do.
It's a drama, but it's comedic. They do both so well. The comedy on that show is so high level, so layered, so built over time. They have such well-drawn characters in this show. And if you haven't seen season 3's premiere, it's one of my favorite episodes in the history of that show, and it's chock full of great episodes. But Cousin Greg, they over 2 seasons, it was a bit of a slow burn with him, but now they're just leaning all the way into that he's in way over his head, and he knocked it out of the park on this episode.
You think it's been a slow burn?
In terms of like just exposing blatantly that he's an imbecile.
Greg blossoming into a comedic, physical comedian because he's so much bigger than everyone else on the show has been one of my favorite parts of the show, that they are leaning fully into the comedy of that character being fundamentally useless.
The funniest thing to me, my 2 favorite characters by far are Greg and Tom.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing to me
they need to have a spin-off.
is that Tom is Greg, albeit just further along in the evolutionary side. But
With a
he's
better vocabulary.
He's exactly the same guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're all the same guy. They just have better vocabularies than Greg.
You love the awkward of the Greg character.
Oh, the
right?
awkward. There was an all-time awkward scene where he's explaining to one of the new high-profile assistants being brought in to court Kendall after this whole thing about, he goes into a whole diatribe, the most boring diatribe about canceling his mother's credit cards. It's so well written, and it could have gone on forever. I was sweating while watching it.
The story arc on the show, because it is artful, it is funny, but we are headed to the richest family or portrayal of comedy and drama of wealth in this country it being undermined by Greg the idiot, right? Like by the biggest of the idiots in the franchise, sneaking in through the last back door of privilege. He's going to undermine the whole thing.
I hope he's
correct?
standing at the end. I think the audience is all hoping for Greg to be running the empire. That's what I thought from day one. Like, that's what they're trying to
that'll
say.
tell you whether the writers think it's a comedy or not, correct? If at the very end Greg wins Game of Thrones.
It's crazy to me. My dad has never seen a second of Succession, but you guys just keep saying the name Greg, and he's been grinning for like 2 straight minutes. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
The thought did just occur to me that was not the first time on this air that I've heard Levitard say the phrase "Greg the idiot." But no, I've never seen the show. It whets the appetite for it because I've heard so much about it, and it sounds good.
People are fascinated by wealth, so I would think that and Billions are a couple of the shows that people really they're super interested in rich people.
Yeah, Billions is a lot more serious drama, right? It's not without its humor here and there, but it's more traditional towards what a drama is.
Has a show ever worked where there isn't a single character with a redeeming quality? They're all just such shitty people.
Seinfeld.
I thought The Sopranos.
Seinfeld.
The Sopranos.
Seinfeld's a good one, and It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, definitely Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Sopranos have a redeeming character.
I would say HBO's Girls as well. No redeeming qualities in those people.
But they just missed the mark. They all thought that they were redeemable, and you watch it in retrospect, and it's just like,
I
oh
hate
my
all
God,
of you.
All
Also-
of you seem like the worst.
Also, the show doesn't have a redeeming quality either.
This show?
No, Girls.
Oh.
Like, it's not my cup of tea.
Okay, that was important to get out there.
I mean, we're talking about
No, but it was
redeeming qualities.
important for you not to like the
Adam
show.
Driver is the show's legacy, in my opinion, which is weird because the show is called Girls.
Can someone
Welcome
get
to
it?
America.
Did you see that there's a story that's been aggregated a bunch that one of the most popular female authors in Spain is actually 3 guys?
No.
Yeah. It's like kind of like a bizarro gender pay gap thing. I'm not exactly sure all the details, but I've seen the headline that just 3 Spaniards have been posing as a woman author.
They write under a nom de plume.
Have you gotten your Urban Dictionary reading together yet?
No.
Because, yes.
No, I have not. I'm still trying to recover from yesterday.
We need to do that again. It needs to be a daily feature. We need to vet it properly, please. But that was a totally unnecessary nom de plume.
Chris Whittingham is a fancy lad.
And yet it was great. I thank you. Like, it's exactly the phrase that segment needed as punctuation. Billy, how do you feel about what's happening in Major League Baseball and I'm beginning, I know you don't like the Astros much,
No.
but Correa, I love that he loves the villain role.
He doesn't love the villain role. None of them love the villain role. They're crybabies. They get upset when you criticize them. They're cheaters, right? Proven cheaters. Everybody knows that they're cheaters. If they leaned into it, it'd be one thing. But they're still parading around as victims. It's ridiculous. You guys are cheaters. No one wants to see you succeed. Congratulations, you stole a championship. That's it.
If you like being the victim, you don't say before an interview, hey, don't ask me about this.
The villain, right? Not
Yeah.
not the victim.
But if they're doing it now without cheating, it's kind of proving their point. Hey, we're pretty damn good.
No, they're forever cheaters.
Right.
Let me tell the story from last night to advance that particular feeling that you have. The Astros are now done. The Red Sox are the surprise of the playoffs so far. They're clubbing the baseball. They were the worst team to enter the playoffs, and here they are. They're Billy's only chance to have a redeemable champion this year. He finds himself somehow, and this is a shitty
The
position.
Red Sox aren't bad. I mean, or the Dodgers. I'm fine with the Dodgers. They won last year. Whatever.
You're fine with the Dodgers?
Yeah, I'm okay with the Dodgers.
Yeah, they always win.
They've won once in like
But
40 years.
they're always good, though. Enough Dodgers. The World Series we want to see is Boston-Atlanta. Those two were the betting underdogs for
Who
sure.
would rather see Atlanta than the Dodgers outside of Braves fans? I just think you're speaking from like what you want here.
If you're like a big baseball fan, you would, because you want to see Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr. You want to see all their young
He's out,
players.
isn't he?
No, yeah, but you want to see his young players.
But when we talk about Correa, what happened last night is you have this funny situation, okay? So everyone hates the Astros. They're the villain. Correa has been the loudest of and the least contrite of the villains. And he does he points to a watch on his wrist. It's, that's what he does when he hits the ball a long way. And yesterday, Eduardo Rodriguez strikes him out, gets him out, and starts pointing to his wrist. And immediately on the top step, cheater Alex Cora is ruling over decorum. And of course, Eduardo Rodriguez has to apologize, feels terrible about what he did in that moment. But afterward, Correa said, I loved it. I love this game, needs more of that, needs more personality.
Yes.
So you've got the manager, the position
Alex
of
Cora needs to chill too, because Alex Cora got caught in an Apple Watch situation. So he's kind of like, let's not be pointing at watches. We need to forget about the watch situation.
I loved the authority figure reprimanding the personality as the guy he was insulting is saying, no, I love this after a 12-3 loss.
Yeah.
I'm reading up on this Spanish author scam thing. It is fascinating. Fascinating. So, first of all, it's a picture of the three guys. They accepted some award, €1 million, by the way. Wow. Good money there for an award for writing. Nobody reads anymore. But the picture, on first blush, I'm like, they look like assholes. But then I was like, hey, you know what? Let's not jump the gun. Give them a chance. I'm reading through the story, and the author page from the name of the writer is Carmina Mola, right?
The nom de plume.
Oh, Carmen Mola, excuse me, yes. So the author page from Mola's agent describes her as a Madrid-born writer who uses a pseudonym in order to remain anonymous. The page also features a black and white photo of a woman turned away from the camera. And I'm like, okay, you guys are really leaning into this. She'd been presented as a female university professor living in Madrid with a husband and children. They really went all the way with this. So then later on, one of the guys says, we didn't hide behind a woman. We hid behind a name. I don't know if a female pseudonym would sell more than a male one. I don't have the faintest idea, but I doubt it. Anyways, so then they go on and they talk about the main character in this woman or in this writer's trilogy, the Inspector Elena Blanco trilogy. Follows a peculiar and solitary female police inspector who, quote, loves grappa, karaoke, classic cars, and sex in SUVs. Like, so not only are you guys obviously like doing this for attention or whatever, but also you're misogynist in it too? I mean, these are the worst people ever.
I can't be the only one that when you guys said three guys, you just thought of like a vegan burger chain.
Why are you guys laughing hysterically back there? You guys were not
It's five
listening.
guys.
You were not. Yes, I got
Okay.
the joke. Thank you. It was
So it's less than like
it
the
was
full.
layered. Yes,
Yeah.
it's right. Thank
Last
you.
two guys with the meat.
That's my
Yeah.
boy. That's my boy.
Credit to you. I'm glad you jumped in. There was a bit of a lull, but you were workshopping that for 5 minutes. I'm never sure you got the reaction you were looking for, but Crazy Chris.
Impossible Burgers.
Yes, thank you, Billy. That is also a
Also,
vegan
bad
burger.
name for things because it's there.
What
So
were
it's
you guys
possible.
laughing about hysterically while not listening to Amin?
Well, it's because I was listening to Amin, and I said we can all agree nom de plume better than pseudonym, correct?
Yes, we
And then that's when I said, what, for me wanting to punch you in the face?
No, we can agree though that nom de plume is better. You're absolutely right. You don't love Correa. Correa's your least favorite, Billy? Your least favorite of all of them?
You know. Wow. That's a good idea, Chris.
Billy's bottom 5 Astros.
Here's the thing.
All
If-
time or just now?
If he just switched teams, I think a lot of it would go away for him, right? Because I think there's like 4 people that were still there, that were there when this whole thing happened.
Oh, but Billy, help me, because baseball's institutional memory on hatred and stuff. You saw what happened with A-Rod last night. Fox had to turn down and mute all its broadcasters because the crowd was burying A-Rod in vile language. You think that this isn't going to follow Correa? I think that the institutional memory in these places where people care and you get to shout cheater at someone, what I saw last night on Fox was amazing for a number of reasons. One of them is this. The A-Rod broadcasting arc is something I've never seen, where guy goes from total scandal to he can work at any network that he wants to because he's super famous. But he goes back to Boston, and Boston buried him, and they had to turn down the sound on their own announcers because Boston was enjoying making fun of A-Rod and others with vile language.
And it isn't just baseball. Look what just happened to Lane Kiffin when he went back to Tennessee. But in A-Rod's case, he was playful with it. He had on a Yankees cap to encourage all that reaction, and that's great for baseball. Whether it's this Correa exchange with the watch thing, feeling fine that the pitcher did that, it's just great for the sport because baseball needs that.
He was also almost a Red Sox. Like, how different would things have been if A-Rod was a Red Sox?
Oh yeah, they'd love him. He'd be their cheater, and the whole thing would be funny because you just simply haven't seen a guy suspended for a league for a year. Chased him through parking lots, calling him a cheater. That's how much we care about cheating. And now he works at both networks.
I feel like he got a raw deal. I'm not going to lie. I don't know why, but I feel like A-Rod got screwed in that whole thing because he was ultimately smarter than all of the rules. That's the thing, right? Which is why it's like really inconsistent with the Astros thing. They're all cheating, right? But if you're dumb enough to get caught, then you deserve the punishment. He was ahead of all of the rules, and he was essentially just punished because they didn't like the fact that he was so much smarter than them in breaking the rules.
Have you seen Billy Corbin's movie?
Yeah, and I was watching, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. He didn't get caught. He didn't fail a test. He should not have been suspended when he didn't fail the test.
You are claiming that the subject of the movie Screwball was smarter than everyone.
Yes, I am, which is ridiculous. But yes, Anthony Bosch was smarter than everyone running Major League Baseball. He figured out how to not get caught. And basically everyone figures out how not to get caught, which is how you have all these inflated numbers. You have to be dumb to get caught, or you have to just not care or get lazy in the hoops that you have to jump through to not get caught. Because everybody knew how to beat the system.
It's like Lance Armstrong. He never tested positive. Just people came out and ratted on him. Barry Bonds, same thing. Never tested positive. Maybe the tests aren't good now that I think about it. All these guys are doing it, not getting caught.
That's what I'm saying. If Anthony Bosch can figure out how to beat the system and can outsmart Major League Baseball and the commissioner and everything that they have in order, like, there's a problem with the system.
I'm pretty sure that I have this right. I don't think, I hope this has been reported. I think it's been reported that Screwball belonged to ESPN. Billy Corbin was going to make that as part of a 30 for 30, but because, I'm assuming, because A-Rod works there, you can't really make it there, and so then it was released. But you should see that movie if you want to understand what Billy is saying here when he says this person was smarter than the system. That movie is a clown show. It's unbelievable how A-Rod and Manny Ramirez and these guys got to their $300 million with just a shady Miami doctor. That story's ridiculous. When you watch this, Billy, when you watched Screwball, even you're not naive about these things, but were you not did you not have your breath taken away by how Boca Raton tanning salon stupid you could be and still be smarter than the people chasing you?
He was making a joke of all of it. Even after going to jail, he was making a joke of the entire situation. And if I remember correctly, it came down to like some insignificant amount of money is what brought this down. It was like $2,000 or something over like these notebooks that linked everyone to it that cost A-Rod tens of millions of dollars.
I think people need to watch that movie if they want to understand how flabbergasting it is that you're saying that outsmarted Major League Baseball. Have any of you guys, has anybody else in this room seen the documentary on just what a Miami clown show this whole situation was with A-Rod? And he wins at the end because he's last night, you say it cost him tens of millions of dollars. He's recouping it now. He's getting his money now with a post-career that would not have been allowed to anyone in scandal before him.
But I wonder what it would have been if he didn't get dragged, right? Like, where would he have ended up if he would not have gotten dragged? Because I feel like there's still a little bit of that attached to him, right? A lot of that's gone away. But he's like this media darling that he has like this black, like shadowy portion of his life, right? Like a dark cloud over him.
Threw me off there.
But what would have happened if he didn't have that?
He'd be considered the greatest pristine of the
Good Morning
players
America
of all
or something.
time. He would be an American icon. Like all of these guys' reputations. Brett Favre's been undone. He could have been gunslinger throughout time.
Whoa, undone. Copperfit begs to differ. That guy's throwing deep passes and he feels great.
Does that commercial not make you sad? Do you not see how Jerry Rice and Brett Favre look, how stiff they look running around in their 50s because football has wrecked their bodies?
They don't look stiff because they have their copper fit on. The power of copper. No? Anyone else?
We've just got into a big debate back here whether A-Rod would be good on morning television or not.
Look,
Like
I mean,
GMA is too starchy.
he'd be Strahan.
No, see, I
He'd
use
be
that as an
Strahan.
example. I don't think he'd be as good as Strahan.
They said that he's not fake enough. I go, he's only fake. What are you talking about?
It would be obvious that he's being fake. Strahan
No,
gets
he's
on
great at
GMA.
fake,
He's
though.
great at
No.
it.
Do you watch morning television? They're
Yeah.
all super fake.
Yeah, but Strahan, I don't know. I like Strahan.
A-Rod is greater at fake than anyone in the history of fake. He's the greatest fake
But
of
look,
all
you
the
know
fakes.
it, but everyone knows it.
But no one cares.
That's television.
That's Good Morning
I feel like
America.
Strahan is more natural.
Live with Kelly and A-Rod. I can see it.
Oh my God,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Live with Kelly
100%.
and Alex.
That would be the greatest of the rehabs. What a story arc on that would be if he gets to morning television by just being the fakest of the fakety.
I love how we're sitting here trying to save A-Rod's career had he not had the scandal. Like, he needs saving. Yeah. Who would he have dated instead of J-Lo if he hadn't had the scandal?
Can you be the greatest fake if everyone knows you're fake?
No, yes, because that's the point.
That's how good you are.
Everyone
Exactly.
knows you're fake and they don't care.
No,
They
no, no.
Exactly.
But we're all telegraphing it. Charlie Rose, that guy was a good fake.
Yeah, but there's no downfall for him because you know he's faking it.
It was a huge downfall for
Yeah.
Charlie
I know.
Rose.
That's just what I'm saying. With
Yeah.
A-Rod, you know, like, this is completely insincere. It doesn't matter. And you've accepted it.
What I love about this conversation is the institutional memory of, do you guys realize that since A-Rod has gotten into the league as a phenom at 19, the reason everyone in that sport hated him is because they all thought he was a fake. And now he's parlayed it into
millions of
amazing
dollars.
riches, and we'll forget it so much. The reason he's one of the most hated people by his peers in the history of that sport is because no one thought he was ever sincere. He was always asking Michael Jordan, like, how do you squeeze a reporter's knee when you want to get the charm over? What's the correct way to shake hands? He was always trying to learn what are the greatest nuggets of golden fakery you athletes who are the myths can give me so I can conquer the world. Like, it's amazing to watch what's happening on television right now as A-Rod's got all of these jobs and has reinvented himself while Jeter's about to have his production company or whatever it is we're doing now with these documentaries on famous people, do it in 4 parts and 6 parts. Jeter's about to celebrate the last iconic moment in pinstripes where you could be a star in baseball, while A-Rod has like this parallel reinvention over here that's not going through the production companies. It's going through ESPN and Fox and, the dating of J-Lo.
I feel bad for him, honestly. Like, it sounds weird, but like, it's kind of sad to not really know who you are and always be trying to gain people's acceptance. Like, if you look deep down.
Billy, that's been the criticism of him. Everybody in baseball wanted him to be more authentic. That was the criticism. This guy's a phony. It's not sincere. It's rehearsed. It's acted. But that's television.
It makes him great for TV.
Yeah, it does. I mean, nobody doubts that. He is a fake, but he's a beautiful fake. He's mastered the art, and it is art. But the smudge on his name doesn't disappear, though, right? Like, I wonder the weight of it. When you write the obituary for Alex Rodriguez in 30 years or whatever, what weight do you give to the fact that he had the longest steroid suspension in Major League history? I mean, that's up there, right?
Greg, I'm telling you, as his media career continues, that stuff just gets, it washes away, becomes a footnote.
It's so
Really?
great, though,
He's
to
going to
watch
be
it
remembered for
happen.
New Year's Rockin' Eve with A-Rod.
You're
Right.
so right. That's where it's going to end up, but on Amazon Prime, right? Because in the future,
On
it's
something that hasn't been invented yet, but he knows about it.
I love how we're talking about his media.
great at New Year's Eve. All you have to do is count down backwards.
Yeah.
You don't think
He
he
would
count down
be
from
great.
10?
He would be great at
He
New
would be
Year's Eve.
so
would be
good.
terrible.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
he'd be beautiful.
Who would be good at New Year's Eve?
Anderson Cooper. I watch it every New Year's. He's great.
It's because they get drunk on
Right.
TV. That's why I'm just watching for Don Lemon hits.
A-Rod.
It's.
I love how we're talking about his media career when he owns an NBA team.
That's how good he is.
It's amazing. It's amazing with steroid money. Like he owns an NBA team with. Now he was great. He would have been great without steroids, and just like Barry Bonds was great without steroids. But steroids was very lucrative for A-Rod and others by providing a fountain of youth that allowed all these people to play into their late 30s.
Tony's just pointing out he could see him on New Year's Eve with the gloves on, holding the mic in Times Square.
Scarf.
Well, we were headed toward him being able.
Cashmere.
We were headed toward him being able to do that with his wife J-Lo.
What happened there?
They both got what they wanted out of that, I think.
Yeah, I don't
You don't think?
I mean, I feel like there was more territory that was still not covered yet.
That
right? They
worked
could have
out
done
well
more.
for everyone.
Yeah, it
involved.
worked out well, but I feel like they left something on the table. There's more that could have been done.
I mean, they wanted the Mets, so I don't think they got what they wanted.
Do you think his fakery had anything to do there with where that ended? Because
No, I think
the
his history.
infidelity,
Yeah. Well,
Something to do with
what
that.
are you talking about, the Mets or J-Lo? Because the Mets thing ended at a pretty obvious point, which is Major League Baseball doesn't want A-Rod owning a team. They went with Steve Cohen, for Christ's sakes.
you're talking about someone in your sport who's viewed for 30 years as being a phony.
Yeah.
Like I've known A-Rod since he was in high school. Like this is the criticism of him his entire life. It's been amazing to watch the reinvention through Hollywood and everything else that gets that rehab so that it's perfect for television. So perfect that both networks. Here's the other thing about A-Rod. As an announcer, lousy. Like lousy.
That's just because the camera's not on him the whole time.
So what? I'm with you. He's lousy at that. Why do we think
he's good in studio? I'm not good with painting him as a broad brush. He's not good on ESPN, but he's good on Fox.
Give him time.
he's not good at funny?
Let me ask a question. We've all kind of accepted that he's fake, right? Everyone says it. This isn't a secret, right? What if he's not fake? What if that's how he really is?
Okay, look, I'll reveal it. I was in A-Rod was at family functions. My wife's first cousin was married to A-Rod. He's like that all the time.
So that's
all
him.
the time.
But Whittingham's asking, but maybe that's just him. He's
Yeah.
trying, and this is what Billy's saying when he's saying it's a little bit sad. The entire life of A-Rod as someone, who ends up getting to fame like Orgeron, and then his life ends up changing in a way that he divorces his high school sweetheart and ends up in this vortex of temptation and Hollywood, Miami glamour as he is a star right away in baseball, right away. And not totally grown up in a way that, he puts his name on the college at the University of Miami, but it's always been a little bit insecure about his education or about what his legacy should be because he's not as educated as the others. Gets to all of these parties and poker rooms where Michael Jordan is and is asking a million questions of everybody, trying to figure out what do the people want. And so he says, what do the people want? So when you ask him what's his favorite book, The Winner Within by Pat Riley, because it's what he thinks he should be. Businessman, mogul, it's what sports has constructed, and he's trying to fit around the Jeter model, right? Which is just Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, don't say anything, be regal, but those guys, we felt it was authentic. A-Rod, never. Nobody thought it was authentic, but Whittingham's saying, well, maybe that's who the best he can do is the idea of what we want of him. That's what you're saying, and that's what Billy's saying is why it's sad, right?
Of course, it's why it's sad. And he's trying to live into the sports construct that you talk all the time, that we craft around. But when you're not that, what happens when you're not that? You're just a great athlete, but you don't know how to actually be cool, how to actually live the spirit of Derek Jeter and Tom Brady and these guys that embody everything that sports America loves about athletes. What happens when you're not that? You try and you're desperate for it, because he clearly has wanted that level of stardom from, as you say, Dan, when he was a teenager. What happens when you can't be it? You try and fake it, and then you eventually become that fakeness.
I know it's tough to put a positive spin on fakery, but on the other hand, there's a brilliance to this. There's a calculating brilliance to the idea that Alex Rodriguez, to mask everything else, has created a character. It's the Alex Rodriguez character, and it's been wildly successful.
It has 100% worked, and he's surpassed a lot of the people that have been named and people that he was trying to emulate. Like, he's a pop culture figure now, not a disgraced baseball player. How many people, if you were to ask about A-Rod that are not like big baseball fans, do you think know about his scandal?
No, they don't know.
He's an incredible success story, and there are reasons why we're all labeling him as fake. He didn't have a positive male influence in his life. He idolized guys like Cal Ripken Jr. He was brought into the big leagues while he was a teenager, and he just imitated them. Kobe imitated these child prodigies, go into grown-ass workplaces, and they go right to the top, and they see how those guys act and behave, guys that they idolized when they were younger, and they just copy them because that's how it's done if you want that same success.
But Mike, the funny thing about A-Rod is when you bring that up, it kind of implies that they are copying the problematic behavior of the people at the top, right? The idea, you know.
I wasn't implying that. I'm just saying, like, he picks up a phone and he answers it the way that Michael Jordan would.
Right. And he's Boston
Hello,
making
it's Michael Jordan.
Boston making fun of him last night while Boston was recruiting him. One of the things that was said that was strange about A-Rod, this was reported as in an article as being held against him, but it's also A-Rod. They had to have like a midnight meeting of some sort at his hotel room, and at midnight, A-Rod is answering the door in a suit and tie, impeccably dressed at midnight when they were just expecting somebody to be in jeans and a t-shirt, but he was presenting. He was always presenting.
Maybe he likes that. Why? Oh,
He does.
Yeah, maybe it's comfortable to sleep in a suit.
He does.
Look, man.
Guy would dress like ridiculous for Easter.
I do it all the time.
I need to attack here a little more, though. Yes, I want to be where you are, Whittingham. You just showing up for functions in a three-piece suit with, you know,
the same suit,
double-breasted. Well,
Did
wait a
A-Rod
minute.
like
The
look for
onesie.
eggs with the family, or what was that like?
Greek Easter's a little bit different, but yeah. Yeah.
What did they look for?
Was he
Tzatziki
competitive?
sauce?
I mean, this is a little uncomfortable for me because I maybe I've alluded to this, but I've never quite revealed.
Well-
Like Cynthia, Rodriguez is my wife Cynthia's first cousin. She's also her godmother, so Cynthia and Cynthia were very close. And A-Rod was at a bunch of family functions because I've been with Cynthia for close to 20 years.
I think that we can actually go and do a deep dive here on Miami Latin, because you said not raised by a father, but he was raised by basically his sister, his mom, and this relationship.
Yeah,
he had.
his family helped raise him, and he's returned the favor. He very insular, and he kept those people around and elevated them. I too met A-Rod. Like, my mom befriended A-Rod's mom when he was just getting into the big league. So I've seen his growth, and that dude acts the same way all the time. It may be a front, but it's the same way. Like, I learned how to talk to receptionists and check in at hotels from just watching my dad. It's the only time I ever really act like my dad because I never knew how to do that stuff. So all of it is just learned behavior that's reformed and honestly rewarded with a bunch of success. I got into the league. I acted like Cal Ripken Jr. I was the highest paid player ever. And he attributes it to his success.
How are you checking in the hotels?
This is Mike Ruiz.
You didn't think you'd like figure that out?
Well, I honestly literally check in as my dad just to get his diamond member points. They haven't caught on to that.
Like A-Rod.
You have to lower your voice like that?
I was like 19 years old, and they're like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, work.
On the road. I like the idea of someone checking in. Wait a second. I know Mike Ruiz, and he doesn't sound like that.
I learned from my dad too. We always make sure there's a mini bar. First question.
Hey, you got to make sure it's fully stocked as well. So does A-Rod show up at casual family events in a suit? I'm just curious.
I don't really see him around anymore. Like, his daughters are still, this is weird, but his daughter, I hang out with his daughters all the time. They're wonderful young women, and I do see him. Unfortunately, I only see him now when there's like funerals and stuff, which is kind of dark and drab.
How many pairs of socks does he own? He seems like a big no socks with shoes guy.
There's one
shows.
One Thanksgiving there was no socks.
Are you saying
Only one?
No,
Yeah,
no
those
shows.
loafers.
How do you know? How do you know they weren't the no shows?
But impeccably casual, correct? He arrives anywhere. He probably smells very good.
I
like
mean, if
Jason
that's
Taylor.
casual,
I don't think he knows what
No,
casual
but
is.
impeccable. No, but for him, that's
yeah,
casual.
His casual
His-
outfit is like the most expensive like
It's-
pant
it's his-
like I've ever seen.
Did he do hand turkeys?
No, he didn't do hand turkeys.
It's his idea of casual, right? You don't even imagine that A-Rod knows really. It's what his idea of.
He's asked someone, "What is casual?"
Yeah, casual in a
Yeah.
How do I
catalog.
look casual
Shit.
today?
He showed up to one.
Right.
He showed up to one Easter looking like the Riddler to me.
Like when most people find out like black tie optional, like what exactly does that mean? He calls and verifies casual. Walk me through this.
I feel like A-Rod goes right for the drumstick at Thanksgiving. He doesn't say it, but he feels entitled to a drumstick.
I don't recall.
He cuts every turkey of
there-
every Thanksgiving.
No, there's
goes
not
to.
finger food he's going to get on those Versace pants and or
There wasn't
shorts.
when he hosted Thanksgiving. There wasn't really a buffet set up.
Has he ever showed up like pilgrim themed to a Thanksgiving?
No, he didn't look like Joe Philbin ever.
Oh, man, that's too bad.
I don't imagine that A-Rod would ever spill something on himself.
No, he's never. Doesn't when everyone else was drinking, he didn't drink at family functions. What I
He
recall,
just
this is-
naturally has a coating that like things don't
Yeah.
stick to. So
Yeah,
if he does, it just
Teflon.
rolls right
Yeah.
off.
Just his cologne is Flex Seal.
It's some invisible, it's some invisible shield that he wears. That if he spills something, he could just pull it off like you would a warm up, and you've never seen it. It's just like an epidermis of some sort that protect him from
We're
stains.
so gonna get sued for this segment.
Sued?
Yeah.
What, defamation?
I mean, there is a family history of litigation here.
Sued for the segment because we've asked Mike Ryan a whole bunch of intimate questions.
You asked me if he dressed like a pilgrim for Thanksgiving. I don't.
Some
think-
people do that.
I don't think that.
Nobody
that's
does
slander.
that.
Pilgrims do.
Nobody does that.
Pilgrims do.
No, you've got since when did you make Thanksgiving a costume holiday?
Well, usually it involves children in a play of some sort of recreation. I was just wondering if he partook in that.
Fair question.
He was.
Thank you, Greg.
He was as you'd imagine him. He's just like that all the time. I don't necessarily. It's weird talking to him because it kind of feels like, is there a camera on us?
Mike,
Because he
it's
just-
hard to get close to him. Again, I've covered this guy since he was 19 years old. I've been in the home of his mother, and he was raised uniquely Latin. My point is, when you mentioned that his dad wasn't around and he was just trying to figure out who to be, A-Rod got to fame and fortune. He was a child. He wasn't actually an adult, not a grown man. Just, it takes Latin guys in Miami an extra minute to grow up because they can be under their family's spell.
He was starring for the Mariners, and his off-season home was still his mom's house, way down south. He was still very much a teenager. Coincidentally, a couple of those family functions, I either tried to talk him into the Red Sox. And my greatest achievement was I applied so much pressure that I believe he caved and played for the U.S. team in the World Baseball Classic one time. I wouldn't
Wait, so this
stop.
was because of you?
I wouldn't stop. I'm like, you got to play for the U.S. You got to play. Then, after the divorce, he ended up playing for the DR. So I'm like, okay, he finally got his way.
Thank you for your service, Mike.
Bit of a commute, huh? His mom's house to Seattle every day.
It's his off-season home.
It was amazing what he did. No wonder he needed steroids with that commute. I've been having this argument with Cody since, I don't know, I was 20 years old. Greg Cody's belief on jokes is that you just want to hit 200. You just want to get over, what is the baseball player?
Mendoza line.
No, but what
No,
was no, he used a different player. He didn't use the Mendoza line comedically.
It's at bats. And the player I always reference is Cesar Tovar, who was a utility infielder for the Minnesota Twins back in the 70s.
Who could forget?
Exactly. And he was the first major league player I'm aware of who had 700 at-bats in a season. And so the lesson there is throw those lines out, see what sticks. You're piling up at bats, you're compiling at bats, and you're going to get more hits.
No walks, just keep swinging. You want to be a lousy.
Don't take any pitches, actually.
You want to be a lousy player, but you want to be someone who just takes a ton of swings.
Right. And modern day baseball has taken a lesson from me.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all strikeouts or home runs.
A whole bunch of foul tips.
That's right.
Can't get a hit with that bat on your shoulder, Dan.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I've accused him over the years because Cesar Tovar was not a very good hitter, right?
He was pretty good.
He was a good swinger.
He also never had 700 bats in a season.
Quit ruining my fantasy. What a spoiled sport. Next, you're going to tell me wrestling's fake. Get out of here.
Really? Don't you hate when Google erases the myths? You've been saying that for 50 years. Cesar Tovar, all you want is try to get. I've been arguing with you for decades where I'll say that was a fielder's choice. And you're like, oh, no, always bloop single.
Bloop single, right. By the way, I challenge you, now that you have Tovar's stats ups, he may have not had 700 at-bats, but I guarantee you one year he had 700 plate appearances.
3 times.
3 times. 3 times it happened.
Thank you.
Triumphant.
Thank you, Greg. You win 3 times. You win the Cesar Tovar.
you.
Finished 7th in the MVP voting.
Look at that.
Damn right.
1967.
So you think you're the Cesar Tovar of comedy?
I am. Yeah. Not a Hall of Famer, but,
Give me his,
Good hit.
give me, please.
Good
I think
hit.
you're a below average player.
Please give me his career numbers, please. I'd like all of them, just because I'd like the audience to know.
Numbers are different now. Dave.
What Greg Cody? I know they're different, but I just want
Totally different game.
I want his best season. I want to go down the Cesar Tovar rabbit hole. So please tell me who, because Greg Cody is maintaining this is who I am on the comedy landscape. You
Right.
choose all the baseball players. I'm Cesar Tovar.
Right. Exactly. As a human being, really.
So
Not just a comedy.
in 1972, he led the league in getting hit by pitches 14 times.
That's me. I take it for the team.
Selfless.
I sacrifice.
What else? Please give me as much Cesar Tovar information as you can possibly give me.
1971, he led the league in caught stealing.
Again, I sacrifice for the good of the
But
team.
that's not good. No, that's getting caught stealing is not.
Those are outs.
I'm making an effort.
No, but that's
The
not,
effort is there.
That's not the good of the team. The
Right.
team is losing because you made an out like that. You led the league in getting thrown out trying to steal a base, which we've learned 50 years later is not even a prudent thing to be doing mathematically. Trying to steal a base.
This is the best part in that season that Billy just referenced. He finished 24th in MVP voting.
Mm-hmm.
Top 25, baby.
In the running.
Damn right.
All right, excellent.
I mean,
so you have a
His
high
hat was
opinion.
in the
Solid.
ring.
You have a high opinion of yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm a credible player in the game of life.
Last night's game, a fun game, Buffalo and Tennessee. I don't know if you guys will be shocked by this, but you were talking about situational football, Mike. And this isn't the part I want to talk about. I just want to talk about how Derrick Henry is more of a man than all the men you know. That's the part that I want to talk about is that. But you said situational football, Mike. Do you know who, since Ryan Tannehill got the start in Tennessee, who has more fourth quarter game-winning drives than anyone in the sport? Not Aaron Rodgers, not Tom Brady.
It's Ryan Tannehill.
9, Ryan Tannehill, since he started there.
Good guess.
It would have been funny if you're like Kirk Cousins, actually. But back to Ryan Tannehill.
But when he said enough with Tannehill, and he's right, but that team is not Tannehill. That team, in the day of passing football, that team is Derrick Henry. That team wants to be in fourth and short on either side. They put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does Vrabel want to be in fourth and short? Doesn't care. Does he wish the entire game was fourth and short?
We have these debates about quarterbacks all the time, and a lot of people, now it's vogue in the NFL to divest yourself, like the Dolphins did, from a quarterback you don't think is Aaron Rodgers. Well, those guys are spectacular, and they don't come around often. It was a golden age in NFL quarterback where we had like 4 of them in the league at the same time. But for the most part, you're going to have to win with a guy like Ryan Tannehill. And what gets you in that game is guys like Ryan Tannehill being Tannehill for most of their career, but when there is a difficult situation, when it's crunch time, they can do the things you need to win football games. And Ryan Tannehill has proven that, at least in Tennessee, he can be that guy. Certainly a quarterback good enough to win with if you have a right team surrounding him.
Tannehill's like the Cesar Tovar of the NFL when you think about it.
Well, Whittingham yelled enough with Tannehill, and he is right, enough with Tannehill, but Tannehill is also enough.
Whitty's just a beaten Dolphins fan, though, at this point. Like, I don't think he's seen clearly on this. Like, I'm a Chargers fan now, so I can kind of look at this. And I'm telling you, Tannehill, like, if you're a Dolphins fan, even over Tua, I think you want Ryan Tannehill over Tua. Just in, like, I mean,
Yes.
Tua's younger, so maybe that math you can do. But just in terms of right now, if you needed to win a game tomorrow, I'm going Tannehill
But
over
the
Tua.
organizational failure of the Dolphins, and they are legion over the last 20 years of swallowing Parcells and Saban and Jimmy Johnson with their haunting, is that Tannehill couldn't and wouldn't be that here.
Right.
Because Derrick Henry's never here. because structurally, we know Tennessee is good. We have seen it, and they're good, doing it differently than anyone else in the sport, which is they've got a man beast behind Tannehill that makes everything different for Tannehill.
And we gave him Devon Bess.
That's correct.
It's different. I know you said enough about Tannehill. There hasn't been enough conversation about Derrick Henry. It's not like you called him a man beast, but also he was the fastest player in the NFL last night. He reached the top mile per hour speed in the NFL on that 76-yard touchdown run.
Sprinters, world-class sprinters go 22 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It was 21.8. I was doing that off the top of my head.
No, but I'm not questioning your math. What I'm saying is that world-class sprinters don't go a lot faster than that, and they're not wearing pads, and they don't have a helmet, and you don't feel bad for the secondary when he is in, like when the sprinter is in your secondary. Not since Jim Brown have we seen a running back like this.
He is faster. So that carry that Mike mentioned is faster than Henry Ruggs has been this season. Henry Ruggs and Derrick Henry at 6'2", 240, bowling over your linebackers. It's faster than Henry Ruggs.
You did feel bad for Micah Hyde last night, right? Whenever he got into the secondary, you're like, oh, this will be good. Who wants to get near this?
You shorted Derrick Henry. He's listed at 6'3". You guys have been next to him at Radio Row. He's bigger.
He's not 6'3". He's like 7'4" at least.
It's being underreported that this guy is Shaq and he's faster than Tyreek Hill.
I just do the body comparisons in that huddle. He appears bigger to me than A.J. Brown and Julio Jones when they huddle up. And he's a running back. And he's not this plodding muscle guy. He's not like LeGarrette Blount. He's not like Jerome Bettis. He can do those things, but then he'll pull away from you after he's beaten you down for 3.5 quarters. He is an unreal talent. A certified Hall of Famer just based off of what he's done already.
No doubt.
Should be discussed as the MVP. Will never get the attention quarterbacks do because that's just what we are as sports fans now. Deserves every bit of it because I can't imagine how bad that team might be if they don't have him. If he goes down for whatever reason and McNichols is in there, you got to think it's a considerable drop-off considering how they've won games, which is on the shoulders of Derrick Henry, who I think has 10 touchdowns now. The Jets have 7.
You think he can get hurt? Unless he gets hit by an asteroid, he's not going to get hurt.
It's got to be Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam character, correct?
No, I worry about the asteroid. That's our whole asteroid defense system here. Just put Derrick Henry wherever it's going.
This is from Jonathan Hutton. Derrick Henry now has 5 games of 140-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. Emmitt Smith had 2 of those in his career. Marshall Faulk had 3 of them. Eric Dickerson had 4 of them, and I think LaDainian Tomlinson had 5 of them. So 5 games, 140-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, but that's not even the part for me, aesthetically, in a passing age, what I'm marveling at when I say best I've seen it, whatever that is, since Jim Brown. And I'm too young. Like that's me reading in books and seeing old black and white videos of the guy who other guys in a man's sport were kind of scared of. The stiff arm. Like, what are the things we like in sports? The dunk. It's how masculine is it? Can I be more alpha than you? In that sport, you're feeling bad for the secondary. In that sport where they're passing, this dude is running around, and the stiff arm is like, man's man, I'm more of a man than you. This is the heavyweight fight. The heavyweight champions are fighting, and it's the height of sports masculinity, what he's doing in that sport. It is like when I was a kid, Mike, my brother and I still laugh about this 40 years later. Some dude at church on a Sunday stiff-armed my brother in the forehead, and it was a grown man. It was a dad playing with kids, and I still laugh at my brother about it. That's Derrick Henry playing NFL. That's gladiator sport, and Derrick Henry's more physical than you.
I understand the Jim Brown comparison because I've seen plenty of old videos of Jim Brown. Obviously, before my time, it appears like that style because bully you, muscle you, and also pull away from you. The only comp modern age football that I can give him is Adrian Peterson, and he's like 3 inches taller than Adrian Peterson. But
And
that
heavier.
Adrian Peterson, he's a bigger load, but Adrian Peterson, 6'1", big for a running back, super powerful, would break tackles with brute strength and pull away from guys.
What would the equivalent of Derrick Henry look like in another sport? Would this be like if Shaq was played like Allen Iverson, was like a point guard and could just do all that stuff?
Yeah, probably, because the thinking is why you don't get a big running back is because it's a big target for the linebackers. You think Barry Sanders, shifty, you can't even see him behind the line, and then he has the speed and he puts on one move, cuts and goes, and he's gone, and you just can't keep track of him because he's so slippery. Derrick Henry, you can see him over the line easily. You see exactly where he's going, and you can't do shit about it.
Kevin Durant might be Derrick Henry.
I was thinking LeBron.
I was going to go LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron.
You can't lose sight of LeBron can do all of the things at that size that no one before him could do at that size.
It is a testament to how much we've taken LeBron for granted.
Oh, my God.
He's better than Derrick Henry. We should be doing what we're doing right now for Derrick Henry for LeBron.
Yeah. Who's the LeBron of other sports?
Yeah.
No, I mean, the thing I would say, if you want to think about LeBron is the size of Karl Malone. That's all you need to say. And when you watch him move on the court, you realize, oh my God, this guy is so much more fluid, so faster, so much more explosive. He moves like a little guy, like a guard, but he's the size of Karl Malone.
Well, as the NBA starts, I mean, I do want one of the great storylines in that sport is the old guy is now deleting tweets where he's like, be careful, washed king stuff. I'm still here almost 20 years in. I got Anthony Davis as a fountain of youth, and now it's just old warriors. Let's see if the old heads can come and fight off all of these attackers. I have said before that this era of LeBron, not just as America's most popular or famous athlete or our greatest athletic export to the world in a sport that against football pales, but LeBron James has 100 million Instagram followers, more than all of the leagues combined. And the old head goes into this season now as, I believe, a physical specimen that we have covered the way we've only covered like Ali and Michael Jordan, who yet still is underrated for what his impact has been, how he has impacted all of sports, all of the power in sports, and has been a physical body that these guys are still underestimating, even though we've seen it in the league. And it's kind of like seeing Shaq with ball guard skills when you're talking about physically stronger than everyone that he's playing against.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I don't know if he's underappreciated in any more of a way than all the other greats, right? As you were talking, I was trying to think, who's a guy in a sport where we legitimately just say, man, he got it, and that's it. It might be Tom Brady after that last Super Bowl where people have they've given up on even trying
they
to. They
haven't done it with LeBron yet because it still becomes the Michael argument.
Yes.
But physically, he was 70 pounds heavier. He played his entire career 70 pounds heavier than Michael Jordan. He was heavier by 30 pounds than Bill Russell.
And 3 inches taller than Michael Jordan, right? He's
50 pounds probably.
He's bigger, faster, stronger than almost every single player that we say is in the running for the greatest of all time. Magic Johnson's another one, right? Roughly the same size, but again, Magic was never as fast, never jumped as high, you know? And so, I mean, the thing about LeBron is, to me, his superpower isn't even his size.
If I may, on Magic, too, I like saying it all the time. Won a championship one year, 0 for 21 from 3, just so that you understand, like, this isn't even Magic. This is a good deal better than Magic.
I just, the thing for me about LeBron is that, like all great players, the greatness is actually secondary physical, primary mental. He's so much smarter than everybody playing in the game, right? His ability to recall and remember things and just recognize and react to that faster than anybody else on the floor. That's what makes it amazing. One of my favorite things ever, when he was with the Cavs, they played Toronto in the playoffs, and Terrence Ross was about to inbound, and Toronto had 6 people on the floor, and LeBron stopped them. He said, no, don't inbound it. You'll get a technical. And he waited for the other guy. And I just thought about, first of all, the presence of mind to have counted 6 people on the floor when you're guarding the inbound. Second of all, Do you know the confidence you have to say, oh, I don't want this cheap free extra point. So Terrence Ross, I'm gonna save you from giving me this cheap free extra point. That's how confident I am that I'm gonna win this game and win this series. To me, it's one of the greatest demonstrations of just his wherewithal.
Well, for 4 years, Spoelstra couldn't talk about LeBron without mentioning basketball IQ. And so as great as he was and is physically, there is that other side of him that needs to be fully appreciated. I think the physical part, there's no way he's underrated or underappreciated, but the cerebral part, maybe.
One of the things that I find fascinating about what's going to happen here with Wade and LeBron as they try to get closer to the real power, right? Because we've been talking about how Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving and some of the things that have mutated from this decade of LeBron shaping that league, culture, impacting America, becoming the biggest athlete, going from, unlike A-Rod, but similarly, popular, unpopular, popular, pop culture, popular. Now you're bigger than sports. Now you're something that's global. You've got a brand. These two guys are going to now try and apply their will, smarts, power brokering, and everything else to what he's going to do after the Laker career. Did you guys saw how much his media company went for in the content age and how much people are pouring millions of dollars.
That's what the valuation is presently, based off of the most recent
it's
investment.
him getting a bunch of people together and literally in a barbershop on HBO. He's just got the power, the influence to put a couple of things here. The content's not great yet, but it's about to get the kinds of investments you need to make great content. And it's because he's proud. He and they, as his agent dates Adele, have gotten into Hollywood now. And I'm telling you, they're going to apply the same sorts of stuff that he's been trying to apply to basketball to whatever his post-career is so that he can have real power, because it's very easy for him to make money right now. In the content game, he's got a content company and an agency on the side. Like, he's going for Hollywood to sort of become CAA of sports through his connections and powers. It bears watching because he can make a lot of money from here just from where he's placed himself.
But that doesn't guarantee that any of it will actually be good, right? Like, he can surround himself with all these people. That doesn't mean what they're going to put out is going to necessarily succeed because he's succeeded at basketball.
It's going to succeed because I'm not even saying artistically. It's succeeded.
Yeah.
He's there and they're already paying him for it. They're paying him for stuff that's been made and isn't that good. Like, they're valuating the company where they value it. It could all be crap. It's stamped by LeBron. It's already won.
But it all being crap then won't last forever if all they do is turn out crap.
Billy, that's the fascinating part. That's, I think, when you talk about uninterrupted, which is basically the
There's 10 Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah. Where's the crap?
By the way, I watched the first 30 minutes of Fast 9 on the flight, and I have no idea what this. It's just they just.
You need to give the first date a listen.
They got in cars, and then they just started shooting at each other, and I just said, "What's going on here?" There's zero plot.
You get it.
Zero plot. But going back to LeBron, the uninterrupted figured this out quick. If everything Draymond Green says becomes the leading story on SportsCenter, then why would we let him say it on another podcast or in a media scrum? Say it on a property that we own. That way, when they play it, we get the credit, and that feeds up.
I mean, what I'm telling you is I'm amazed by this dude's career, because in every aspect of it, he's done that. He realizes, wait a minute, if I'm going to give you the media for free, what do I need the media for?
Well, it's not even what do I need the media for. It's not about needing the media or not needing the media. It's about, if you're going to run with what I say, I want to own the content on which I said it so that I can monetize it. And that's what they've done. So, Billy, you said, well, if it's crap, it doesn't matter if it's crap or not because they have the eyeballs.
I remember early in LeBron's career, before he came to Miami, reading him saying, I want to be the first active athlete who's a billionaire. And that got my attention. And you wonder why years later, when somebody tells LeBron to shut up and dribble, why he gets offended by that. He's never been just a basketball player. He's a conglomerate. I mean, he's always had a business sense and an aggressive business sense, and that's admirable.
What a storyline, though. I mean, in the sport that we love the storylines. And I know he's ancient and an old story, and you're probably tired of it because like you're tired of Tom Brady. It's droning excellence. It's Pete Sampras. It's Roger Federer. Like you might be tired of how much we cover LeBron and talk about LeBron, as I'm sure there'll be a 10-part series on LeBron and 10-part series on Magic. They're all going to do last dances now. Tom Brady's going to have a 10-part, docu-series. LeBron James has won and is still the story. Headed into this season, almost in 20 years, because he's got an old team. Will Anthony Davis stay healthy? But I mean, that going against the Nets is fascinating. Just if you like the soap opera elements, if those teams can stay healthy, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. Yesterday, I heard on the show you said the Nets are a team that embraces villainy, and I was like, I don't know if they embrace villainy. I don't think they do. Not in the way that like Miami did when the big three were here, like a Reggie Miller did when he played. I think they're kind of avoidance towards that, but I don't, I think that's what people want to see, right? They want to see Nets Lakers because of the star power, because of the amalgamation of names that everyone's heard of. Because a lot of Lakers star power is names that are not quite as good as they used to be, but people recognize Carmelo Anthony. People recognize Russell Westbrook. And add that to LeBron and AD, that sounds very, very daunting. But you bring up a great point for both of those teams. There are real serious hurdles about, can we stay healthy? Can we keep this thing together long enough to even see a deep playoff run?
What was the last team in sports that actually embraced being villains? Because we talked about the Astros before, and they did not.
The Warriors.
Really?
Oh my God! They had the whole super villains, balloons and stuff at the party.
They weren't hated.
They weren't
They
hated.
weren't
though.
hated.
Not
No,
that
when
much.
they got Durant,
No,
when
man.
they signed
I don't, as a Heat
Definitely.
fan, get out of here with them
Oh,
being
no.
hated.
No,
People were
look,
rooting for them to win.
the most hated basketball team of literally the last 30, 40 years easily was Miami that first year. Easily.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to come close to that.
I don't even know how much they embraced that, though.
They did
A
and then
little
they
bit at the
didn't.
beginning,
Yeah.
but then they didn't.
LeBron talked about it wasn't him. He wasn't a negative guy. He didn't want to be a negative guy. Although he gave us one of the greatest quotes of all time when he said everyone's got to go back to their miserable lives. Oh my God! As a villain, oh my God, it went into my veins. It's like, oh,
You're a villain?
You're a
That's
villain.
what
Do you see
are.
yourself as a heel?
He does see himself as a villain.
Oh.
He just
Darth
put
the
himself.
Meme.
He put himself with the greats of
What's
of
his name?
villainy.
What's
What's
name?
your villain name?
Darth Amin, man.
I mean, that's very unoriginal.
No, it's not a good one.
and horrible bad taste.
Darmeen. This is a company Derrick Henry's keeping? Because I was just talking about how good he is, and you made it a LeBron conversation. So Derrick Henry must be really good, right? 21.8 miles per hour.
I won't lie.
Back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, it would appear.
I thought you were comparing him to me.
Yeah, I thought so.
I was like, oh, yeah, well, a little bit.
You
maybe.
are like Derrick Henry.
A little
I mean.
bit.
Yeah.
We have some similarities.
Are there a lot of guys in sports or people in sports
They
where
were like, the hell with that.
Well, I mean, you've done that like 3 times this hour, where you throw one of those in the middle of what it is that we're doing, and you poop on the show. I wanted to hit you with 3 show killers, and you
Show killer!
go ahead.
Show killer!
I'm letting it truly echo.
Show killer!
Ron McGill is one of the most popular, maybe the most popular segment that we've done around here in all the time that we've been doing this. And he's done it for free the entire time. So we ask you, if you want to support the things that Ron McGill supports, please check out his endowment, because he does very good things for the animals. And there aren't a bunch of bureaucratic layers between where your money goes and where the help is found. So Ron McGill with us now as he joins us every week again. And you sent an email out, an email blast, very excited about your bald eagle cam. And I want to hear all about why you're excited about this and what other things like this the zoo has done.
Dan, this is huge. What happened was last year, well, it wasn't last year. It was actually, it was the beginning of the year. There was a bald eagle chick that had fallen out of a nest, 85 feet up. There were 2 chicks in the nest. It was a poorly constructed nest. One of the chicks died. We saved one of the chicks. I worked with Wildlife Rescue of Dade County, rehabbed the chick, and raised it up to where we released it back into the wild. This bald eagle that nobody said would be able to survive. It had a broken wing. We had to do surgery on the wing. Just incredible work, rehabbing, teaching it how to fly, teaching it how to eat. We taught it how to eat iguanas, which is huge because, iguanas are an invasive species. So now we've got a bald eagle that's learned to eat iguanas. Hopefully, when we released it back in the wild, we had the mayor of Miami-Dade County release it back into the wild in the Everglades there. This eagle, being a female, hopefully she'll grow to be sexually mature, have her own chicks. She'll teach her chicks to feed on iguanas. And then we'll have basically a great iguana feeder. But back to the original thing of the bald eagle camp. What we realized is this pair was coming back to the same tree every year. Bald eagles are monogamous. They mate for life. And they usually come back to the same tree and they add to the nest every year. But this nest was just in a horrible place. The tree was a bad choice, okay? And the nest kept falling. So I worked with Wildlife Rescue of Dade County and Lloyd Brown there, the founder. He said, let's build a platform so when they come back nesting season, they'll have a solid platform to breed on. And then let's put some cameras up there, live cameras so people could watch it live. A lot of eagle experts said they'll never come back. They'll see the platform. They'll see the cameras. They'll go, we're not going back there. We're going to chase them away. I said, let's take the chance and see what happens. Long and behold, they came back. And not only did they come back, they are building on that platform. So you can go to the zoo's website, zoomiami.org, and just go to the Eagle Nest Cam, and you can see it live. They're still building the nest, but come about the end of November, they're going to lay an egg, hopefully, God willing, and they'll hatch that egg, and you can watch them bring food back, feed the chick, the whole 9 yards, be part of this wonderful, intimate window into seeing bald eagles live. I mean, it's a great thing. I'm sorry, I talked a lot there.
How can you be certain that some eagles don't cheat?
Jesus, that's the first question you're going to ask me.
Well, I was going to ask the follow-up. Are you really broadcasting eagle porn? Because you say they breed on this platform and that you're waiting for an egg. And it sounds like you just told our audience.
Yep.
I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah,
correct?
You let children watch that, Ron.
You're saying that if people go there, they might see eagles having sex.
You might see it, but it's not like watching other animals have sex. When
What
birds
time?
have sex, basically the male mounts the back of the female for literally 3 or 4 seconds. It's very, very quick. And it looks like he's just piggybacking. You do not see any kind of, because birds do not have internal intercourse.
Hold on,
Okay,
hold on, Ron. Were you going to go Stugotz or Patino there?
I was going to go Stugotz there. I pounded the table. Damn it, I've missed Stugotz so much.
He made the symbol of a window closing because he wanted to get in and make the 3-second, 4-second sex joke that was most obvious. Please continue. Continue, Ron.
Okay, so anyway, it's not anything graphic. If the kids see it, if you don't want them to know what it is, and I urge against that. I urge you let them know what they're doing here, okay? That's how they make babies. I think it's a cool thing. It's not anything graphic. They just kind of rub feathers together real quickly. It's over. I would make it emphatic that, when you become sexually active, you don't want to do it like that because that's kind of a down thing. You don't want to be the 2 or 3 second guy like you're trying to dump on Stugotz there. But the bird sex is interesting. I think if you get to watch that, think about what an intimate window this is providing for you to see these birds not only copulating, but they're building their nests. You see them fight over which stick goes where. It's like a married couple. If you go to it, you'll see it. I actually did a little voiceover with my wife on it to show how they bicker. No, this doesn't go there. Oh no, this goes here. No, it's fantastic to watch. You see the parallels between people and animals.
Bald eagle porn role playing is what you're saying.
And it's for science.
Are you guys this decadent, really, this down in the gutter, that we're talking about some wonderful National Geographic stuff here, and you're talking about bald eagle porn? Really, guys? Really?
Ron, I was at Lion Country Safari a few months back, and there was ostriches going at it, and my daughter was like, what are they doing? And I said they were dancing.
Well, they do dance. They do a lot of dancing before they go at it.
My daughter still talks about it to this day. Ostriches dancing. I have a video of it, actually.
Isn't that better than watching some violent video game or killing people or shooting and this and that? You're watching ostriches dance.
Is it weird that I videotaped it? Because I did. I could show you guys if you want to watch.
I think it's fantastic that you videotaped it. I made half a living on doing a program called Sex and the Animals, where all I show is animals having sex because people are fascinated by it. And there's nothing wrong with it, guys. It's a natural thing.
Smut peddler.
Oh my God, really?
It's weird when you start doing the voices and you give them characters.
No, you guys are wrong here. I'm just telling you, this is a beautiful thing to watch. Go to zoomiami.org, go to the Eagle Camp, watch it. Now, they might not be on the nest right now. They tend to spend a little time in the morning, maybe a little time in the afternoon, but as they get closer to when they're going to lay their egg, which will be about the end of November, they'll be on the nest a lot more. And when they lay that egg, folks, trust me, People are going to be watching that like they're going to be addicted to it, waiting for that egg to hatch, seeing the little chick hatch out. And then you never know what they'll bring back. They could bring back fish. They could bring back iguanas. You see the prey stuff they bring back. It might be difficult to watch for some people. I know at one time, I maybe shouldn't even mention this, but one time at a nest in Montana, one of the eagles brought back a cat. And it was still alive.
Oh, dear God. Oh, my God.
Now you got me.
All right.
Now
well,
I'm back in.
Well, Ron, can I put a DraftKings sponsorship on this and turn it into a channel that we are now threatening to crash? Because I want our audience deeply invested in.
You know what we should do? We should do a DraftKings betting on when are they going to lay the egg.
I like it.
That would be fantastic. Think about it. Take a whole thing and, it'll be a great betting thing. When is the egg going to be laid?
Right, male or female?
I'm watching it right now, Ron. It's an empty nest.
There's no bird.
Shit's boring as
It is
fuck.
kind of boring. And it's moving a lot.
Okay, look, guys. What did I just tell you? I said that they're going to be off the nest. As they get closer to November, the end of November, you're going to see a lot more activity on there. And then when you see it, guys, I'm telling you, you're going to be hooked. You are going to be hooked. You're going to be people are going to watch that when they lay the eggs and when the egg hatches and that little chick comes out and they're feeding it. People are going to be hooked. They're going to be fascinated.
Ron,
to be part of this.
I am telling you that we need to put a gambling site on there and we need to have action on everything that's happening around here. So just give us a second to formulate a plan. And if we can figure out how to bet on when it is that this thing is going to be hatched. But
That's really not how the DraftKings partnership works.
but
Should be.
They're a
wanted
public company. They're not looking to make $7 on Eagles fucking.
I want
Holy Jesus, Michael, this is unbelievable. This is something that's really cool to bet on. Not on
so far. It's
what
kinda
stupid,
boring.
highly overpaid sports figure wins a game.
yes.
Nature.
Whoa.
Nature comes through. When nature comes through,
Check out
something
DraftKings,
natural
promo
that
code
you
boring.
know is not fixed.
Little opportunistic, by the way. You spend years besmirching the good name of Eagles, and now all of a sudden, we're all in on bald Eagles.
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Bill. Let me tell you something.
Mr. Bill.
Eagles are still
Mr. Bill.
a vulture with a good PR agent. Okay, they will scavenge whatever they can. That
Including
doesn't make them
cats.
any less
Including
beautiful, any
cats.
less majestic. Listen, you know what? Don't let your cats run free all over the place because
That's
they're
right.
killing birds.
Where is this? Like, can I go up to this video feed and just like say hi or like hold a sign down there?
No, you can't go net. You can't be within 100 yards of it because it's against the law. If you do anything to disturb an eagle's nest, you can be arrested and fined.
I found the video of the ostriches getting after it. Woody, take a look at this.
Wait, aren't you disturbing the Eagles' nest?
Yeah, look at that. They're dancing.
We are observing with
There
a
we go.
camera that's not non-intrusive.
There you go, Ron. Take a look.
Baby.
Oh, wow. They are getting after it.
They're dancing. There's my daughter here. She comes. She's like, Daddy, what are they doing? I'm like, they're dancing, honey.
Put a video cam on that.
They're dancing. Well, listen.
Going to town
You will
on
see
it.
Look at that.
That's some dancing right
That's
there.
longer than 4 seconds right there, fellas.
My man's going.
And you know, the neat thing about ostriches
Jesus.
is they don't have an actual penis, but they have a flange of skin that comes out that acts like a penis that hangs out.
Right.
So when they finish breeding, you'll see them stand up and you'll see it kind of dangling there like a big kind of,
BTB.
what did he say? ETB? What? Okay.
Ron, I have a question for you.
Moving
Okay.
on. Transition.
Transition. So the ivory-billed woodpecker is extinct, right?
Well,
Or-
yeah, they're declaring it. Fish and Wildlife has officially declared it extinct, even though there's still some individuals that say they have seen it. Some credible individuals say they have seen it within the last 10 years and aren't willing to go along with that official extinct label.
So my question to you is, as science is getting more and more complex and capable of amazing things, would you support cloning to bring back extinct animals?
It depends on the extinct animal. I think the ivory-billed woodpecker, yes, because it's an animal that became extinct mostly due to human, intrusion.
Mhm.
Animals that became extinct artificially quickly because of human presence, I would support bringing those animals back. Now, I wouldn't support like bringing back like dinosaurs and
No.
extinct animals before mankind. As fascinated as I would be to see one, I couldn't support bringing one back because then you're opening Pandora's box.
Dodo
Animals that
birds.
became extinct naturally because of the natural process of the earth, you got to accept that.
Hey, Ron, recently at the zoo, it was Dental Week. And I wonder if you could walk us through what is involved in giving a root canal to a lion, and how do you know the lion needs one?
Okay, well, what we do is we immobilize the animal. They're anesthetized, fully anesthetized, and they do total x-rays on the mouth. What we'll see sometimes the behavior, we might see a lion all of a sudden just start chewing on one side of its mouth. We're saying, why isn't it chewing? Something's got to be bothering it on that side of its mouth. So then we make the decision to anesthetize the animal. We do x-rays. And just like with your dentist, you can look at the x-rays. You can see if there's a crack, if the nerve is exposed. Things are done there, and that'll tell us, okay, we got to do either root canal, do an extraction, or whatever. Once we determine there is a root canal that needs to be done, we have a veterinary dentist who flies in from Ohio. She's fantastic, Jamie Burney. And she basically has special tools where she drills a hole into, let's say, the canine tooth, goes in there with like a big, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a big bore, and she cleans out the root and she scrapes it all out, and then she'll fill it with something to make sure that nothing could go in there and cause an infection, because if the infection goes into the root of the tooth, it can infect the jaw and cause the animal to actually die.
Has there ever been a mishap where in the middle of this or toward the end of this, the anesthesia begins to wear off a little bit and the animal stirs?
Everyone
and
just
like,
runs out of the
whoa.
room in fear.
Right.
Well, no, the anesthesia isn't.
It's a what? It's a help.
No. First of all, I will say there's always someone present there with a gun, with a shotgun.
Whoa.
Okay, that's part of the protocol. God
gosh.
forbid something were to happen.
Wow.
I've been doing this for over 40 years. We have a person who's strictly assigned to the anesthesia, basically kind of like an anesthesiologist of the animal. They're monitoring the anesthesia. Animals don't just wake up all of a sudden. You'll start seeing things like you'll start seeing them kind of flex their foot or flex their paw. You might see kind of the eye action. You'll see often that the veterinarian might tap the eye, and if it blinks when it taps the eye, oh, you got to give them some more juice. Okay, so that is very, very closely monitored. And again, this is something that they don't come right out of. As a matter of fact, once we actually reverse the anesthesia, it usually takes them several hours before they can even get their feet under themselves again.
Would you ever give an animal braces to like prevent future infection, or maybe Invisalign?
Invisalign wouldn't work because they would just take it out. I don't know about braces. I know that in some teeth, some of the replacement teeth that have been done like on canines, they'll use actually like a platinum, it's a hard, what is that hard metal that they use? They'll make the canines out of that hard, what now?
Titanium?
Titanium, that's what it is, titanium. They make titanium canines and they implant titanium canines.
Mike Ryan told me something shocking yesterday about goldfish. This is not something that I knew. I don't believe that it's true, even though it has been shown to be true by the internet. What the hell is going on with goldfish?
Dan, an audience that missed yesterday's show, I've seen these news stories done on these lakes where people would just throw their they would discard these pet goldfish, and since they weren't confined to the rigidities of a goldfish bowl, they would grow to astronomical sizes, and now these goldfish are considered invasive to the point they're like, go kill them, please. So should we kill all the goldfish?
The way you phrase things, Mike, are not really fair. The bottom line is, if it's an invasive species and it's causing damage to the natural environment, we do need to get those goldfish out of there. The way you phrase it is like we should just go in there and start slaughtering goldfish.
I keep it real. What do you think the solution is here? You're just going to round them up? Where are you going to put these freaks?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to have them in their ponds. You have a lot of the
not if they're going to be these mutant dinosaur things that grow. I did not know that we were keeping them from growing by putting them in goldfish bowls. I had no idea.
It's the same thing with reptiles, Dan. You remember back 40, 50 years ago, they used to sell the baby alligators, and people used to keep them in fish tanks. And you'd have an alligator that's 3 years old that is 1.5 feet long because it was stunted being in that tiny environment. Whereas you take an alligator, put it outdoors, and feed it as much as you want, it'll grow at least 1 foot a year. So reptiles and fish are stunted by the environment that they're kept in. Absolutely.
Ron, at the zoo, you have koi, right? In a pond? Is it?
Yes, we do.
Aren't those large goldfish?
They're not true goldfish. I think they're kind of a relative of goldfish, but koi are much more exotic. They're a type of carp that is kind of off of the branch of the true goldfish. I'm not an ichthyologist, so I can't tell you for sure. I'm not really well versed on that, but I know koi and true goldfish are different fish. They're different. They're not the same.
Roy, close us out with Ron McGill.
Ron, how has climate change affected the migration patterns in most animals?
Good question, Roy. Boy, we got some intelligence coming out of this show. Basically, it affects several things. What it does is, as climates start to warm sooner, it starts with, let's say, plants. Flowers start to flower earlier. They're producing pollen earlier, but now we have birds that haven't learned to migrate, or butterflies that are migrating when they normally migrate because they're not affected as much by temperature as they are by light cycle, by the length of the day. So all of a sudden, these plants flower, and there's no butterflies there because the butterflies haven't started to migrate yet. And then when the butterflies do migrate, there's no flowers there because they've already busted up their pollen. And all of a sudden you've broken up that cycle. Same thing with birds, moving and planting seeds, eating seeds and planting as they fly. Because all that system, it becomes a domino effect. The flowers flower early. There's nothing there to pollinate them, so they don't continue to disperse flowers. The butterflies go to eat, and now there's no pollen there. They starve, so they die. The same thing with birds. So that's, moose. They're finding now that moose are moving further north up into Canada. They're not doing well down in the lower elevations in Washington and Maine because the warmer temperatures are making them susceptible to ticks and infection and things like that. All these things have domino effects on all the animals and plants that those animals depend on.
Ron, thank you for being on with us. I'm sorry that I was laughing while you were talking there. I just can't believe how this ostrich is jackhammering
vigorously.
Just jackhammering this other ostrich, and Chris Cody keeps showing his daughter that they're dancing. But good Lord, that ostrich is a powerhouse. Like, I have been fixated the whole end of this segment. It's just a gyrating machine. You said it's feathers and birds. No, man, This has been the hardcore ostrich stuff I've been watching for the last minute.
Tension.
As long as it gets you hooked in, I don't care what it takes. Learn to love animals.
Oh my God.
Have a wonderful week, guys.
See you later, Ron.
See you, Ron.
Bye-bye.
I want to get into this back and forth between DK Metcalf and Shannon Sharp because it's a good one, a spicy one. This new media age of the stars on television get rewarded when they lure out the athletes for a fight. It's a different way of covering things. But before we do that,
$5.
that was a mean. That was not Cody. That was
upset.
That was a mean.
Yeah, Cody, you're doing pretty well today.
But I mean, really, just after testing positive for COVID, like just spit all over. Like it was not. He's drinking while
All
he
over
does
Stugotz's microphone.
We're in a tight. I mean, we're in a tight environment here, and it's as close to a spit take as you're going to come. Amin has been more of a disaster today than Cody. That is not easy to do.
I got to work harder.
Amin, if you want more of him coughing, wheezing, testing positive for opening night of basketball, YouTube tonight after the games, him and Tom Haberstroh will be doing an after midnight God knows what on YouTube. And also
youtube.com/LeBatard and Friends.
Forgive me. Yes, the LeBatard and Friends. Please subscribe. Please do whatever it is that you need to do so that you have some of that in your life, because we'll be popping up at various times and places. One of those places, hopefully, will be Wednesday for the Boston Red Sox game that's at 5 o'clock. Mike Schur is hoping to be able to do that on Wednesday, so we'll do one of those if we can, if Mike Schur's schedule is busy. But we want to start doing some of that stuff, second screen experiences, and Amin and Haberstroh will be doing that tonight after all of the NBA games. It's sort of like a post-game show.
It's a late night with Amin El Hassan, which usually goes only one way.
Yeah, very late night.
He's not even shying away from what's coming your way.
Get ready, everybody. We're going to do this after dark. This isn't your typical post-game show now. We're doing it a little slower.
Because you're going to be drunk, right?
Yes, I will.
All right, there.
With Haberstroh, after dark, $5.
I had the
we heard it.
Oh,
it can't be a cough that the cough button can't do anything about. Will you just leave, please? Stop coughing in here and spitting up fluids in here, please.
the water.
Just leave. Just leave. Not theater of the mind. You just tested positive.
I love that somebody else besides me is coughing. Love it. Been waiting years for it.
Here's the backstory on Shannon Sharp and DK Metcalf. If you saw the Seattle-Pittsburgh game, any number of ways anybody could have lost, but we tend to hyper accent the one or two dumb things toward the end that ended up happening. And so there was a time management issue. DK Metcalf stayed in bounds and shouldn't have. And Shannon Sharp was critical of it. And DK Metcalf said of Shannon Sharp, "Stop questioning me, lil boy." LIL. Stop questioning me. And Shannon Sharp's response is, "Nothing to question. That was a dumbass play, and your pride won't let you admit it. You can't question anything I've done. Pray your resume will be as complete as mine. Pray.
Whoa.
Enjoy the rest of your day." Now, that last sentence seems insincere. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Levitard Show. Did Shannon Sharp hope that DK Metcalf did indeed enjoy the rest of his day? But DK Metcalf probably won't have the career that Shannon Sharp can throw down the career card on a whole lot of people, correct? But that doesn't mean that DK Metcalf can't object to whatever Sharp's criticism is. Unfortunately, in this one instance, he also called him little boy, which is not something I would ever do to Shannon Sharp.
But it might be something that you do if you're DK Metcalf, because everyone's little. But imagine someone like Shannon Sharp. When you remember him, he's kind of the guy that started the evolution at the position along with Tony Gonzalez. For someone to call him little boy, they better look like DK Metcalf.
Well, I mean, Shannon Sharp famously somehow fitter than the guy he shares a set with, and Bayless does 3 hours of cardio and eats chicken and broccoli only in his entire life. So,
but for the kids in the audience, it's pretty much a certainty that DK Metcalf, however great he may be, and he may have a career that has his name in the Ring of Honor in Seattle, he is not going to be as good at his job as Shannon Sharp was at his.
I think DK is being a little sensitive here, but I also think that's a byproduct of your quarterback being downshifted from Russell Wilson to Geno Smith. Right? I mean, if you're a receiver, that's frustrating. You're thinking, I'm not going to get as many targets or as many accurate targets in the coming weeks.
But that doesn't have anything to do with whether it was a dumb play or not.
It was a dumb play, but I think his reacting sensitively to being called out on it is a whole byproduct of the frustration right now. Seattle's not having a very good season, and the star quarterback just went out. And if you're DK Metcalf, it's a little bit of a downtime right now.
Let's talk for a second, though, about what this transaction is, right? When Cowherd or Shannon Sharp or Bayless engage, or Stephen A. Smith or anybody engage one of these guys, that's good for business, correct? Every single time, without exception, if it's not going to be one of those things that gets you canceled, anything that brings attention to, oh, now I've been acknowledged, it's good for the brand of being Baker Mayfield is yelling about Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd doesn't actually care whether he wears his cap backward or not. But the wrestling elements of this, where you've got some of these media members being wrestling characters, because none of this is that serious. Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless have done that to great success. And many athletes, and they do this to Stephen A. Smith too, hate that the way that the platform is used sometimes is to drag athletes the way, in Shannon Sharp's case, he probably wouldn't have wanted to be dragged, no matter how confident he was as a player, by a wrestling character on television trying to engage him for the purposes of, oh, I'm not a dumbass, you're a dumbass. Let's go back and forth. And now DK Metcalf, Shannon Sharp wins. He wins on resume. He wins on television. We've forgotten about everything that happened with Julio Jones, because who cares about that, whether you're putting someone on air when you shouldn't be putting them on air. This is the job now. This is it. The job is, and Shannon Sharp does it well. He was going to be our movie critic, but he only knew about A Few Good Men.
I think it worked out for him. He's parlayed that failed audition into much better success.
Yes, he really has. He hitched himself to the Skip Bayless. That tree has paid some people.
Talking about the white guy, black guy tree. When the debate shows just become white guy, black guy. Yeah. No, it's a good job if you can get it.
It doesn't pay the women in the middle anything that wouldn't embarrass you if you heard it comparatively, right?
Yeah, comparatively, I imagine.
Comparatively, only comparatively.
Bit of a pay gap.
Well, it's a funny construct when you talk about. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. White guy, black guy, and then asterisk, and woman who doesn't say anything in the middle, or it's not allowed to have a woman not allowed to have an opinion in the middle. It's shocking whenever there's a strong opinion coming from the woman who is controlling these rambunctious cartoon wrestling.
What was
characters.
that? The person that really started that was actually Jay Crawford. It was a blue-eyed Disney prince of a man. But he would always have opinions too, and would be like, "Okay, cool, keep it moving." Now we seem to have gone backwards on that dynamic to the point that anyone flashes an opinion, they go viral because it's like, "Wow, how
She spoke.
yeah."
I mean, that's pretty funny symbolically, is it not? Given where we are, just culturally, generationally, along the genders.
You know, it's funny. I don't call her the woman. I say white guy, black guy, settle down. That's her role. Settle down. Molly is a great settle down. Right? You ever notice that?
She's very kind with the prompts to go to break.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Okay.
It's a funny evolution, is it not? In 2021, after everything that we've gone through, it's not just one show; it's all of them. It's it's one of the reasons I am genuinely curious. I'm rooting for Stephen A. Smith, always rooting for him to get paid and get more. But I'm looking at that show and being like, okay, let's see if America will absolutely embrace the same way that it has. And it's not white guy, black guy. It's black guy, 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 black woman, Tim Tebow.
Halo.
Progress.
But let's see. Yes, progress, but let's see if the formula, because it's Stephen A's show now. Molly's lost control. There's no telling him to settle down. That's it. It's over. He's over here on the NBA pregame show. He's got First Take. He's running ESPN. He's got a giant salary, twice as much as Gruden. Look what happened to him.
Yeah, I don't know if we can really glean anything from what the ratings have told us, which I think you mentioned that they've gone down since Max left. But this is a format change. The show has always revolved around two people that you would tune in every day. You kind of knew what their takes would be, and you would still like it.
It's Stephen A's show. He is on record saying, yeah, I ran Max off. That's not the show I wanted to do anymore. He's 54 he turned this week.
But it is a show he wanted to do. He wanted Skip Bayless.
He wants to do all the shows.
He wanted Skip Bayless back.
He wants to do all the shows. Soap operas, Jimmy Kimmel, all of them.
Soap operas.
He's done soap
Yeah,
operas.
he has a set
General
character.
Hospital.
It's a recurring character.
He's done
Say
McDonald's,
brick, right?
McDonald commercials,
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, the Prometheus spots. Who could forget? By the way, have you noticed that Ronald McDonald has gone missing?
Yes, I have noticed that.
7 years.
Yep.
It's been 7 years since we've seen Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the It movies. I don't know if just clowns just test poorly now. But Ronald McDonald, a stalwart of all of our childhoods, whenever we'd go to McDonald's, we want to have a birthday party there, and we want our Ronald McDonald Happy Meals. No longer there.
And meantime, the Burger King is bigger than ever. He's dancing as if dancing on Ronald McDonald's grave. The Burger King is all over TV dancing. It's just quite a juxtaposition.
Do you
Startling.
think it's related?
I do.
You think there's something involved with an abduction? Because the way that Mike phrased that is as if that Ronald McDonald is missing, that we don't know where he is. No one has said anything. There hasn't been a press release. There hasn't been a hostage statement of any
I
sort.
haven't even shown him. They have Ronald McDonald House famously. They would send Ronald McDonald to events. I haven't seen
Right.
Ronald McDonald do appearances
Well,
anymore.
here's another question. Where are the rest of them? Where's Grimace?
Yeah.
Where's the Hamburglar?
Where's Birdie?
Oh, man.
Do we actually miss
love
Ronald McDonald though? I feel like we're just saying that.
I do. No, man.
I
that's
was
the
never a big Ronald McDonald guy.
What?
You guys like those chairs they would have outside the restaurants where he's sitting? Like
They
that would
sit
creep
with
the
his
shit
leg
out of me. Are
with
you
his
kidding me?
leg
I love
crossed,
those.
With his leg crossed.
Leg
and
crossed.
Yeah.
He's got his arm out so you
Those
can
were
sit
creepy.
under his
Yeah.
arm.
No, those
They
were
would,
creepy.
they
are
would get
creepy.
about 200 degrees in the summer. Burn my hand on those things.
Hated those
They're
chairs.
cheap material, right? Cheap material, plastic red
I
material.
have
right?
nightmares about those chairs. I just like wake up and I'm like sitting next to Ronald McDonald.
I actually cut my head open on one of those chairs. Yeah, just lean back way too casually on Ronald McDonald as I was enjoying his very warm embrace.
That's
Clocked
a
my head
shame.
at the wrong spot.
I think there was a time that Ronald McDonald had a higher Q score than the Statue of Liberty.
I believe it.
No
Like
doubt.
if you were to put Ronald McDonald in New York welcoming people in, I think that not too many people would have had a problem with it.
That would be great.
Instead of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Right by Ellis Island,
it'd
there's
be
a run.
It'd be so good to just have a giant clown to replace the Statue of Liberty with a giant commercial clown. We should do that.
Here's the question, though. Would it be Ronald McDonald standing up, or would it be Ronald McDonald on a massive bench, crossing his leg with his arm out, so a giant could sit down and nuzzle its head against him?
I don't know.
Good talk.
I'm reading up on it. MASH did a story on this.
MASH?
Well, you clearly read up on
MASH.
it before.
MASH?
No, I saw it like in a headline. And I'm like, oh yeah, where is Ronald McDonald? But I never actually clicked the story. There was a backlash on his marketing to kids. This is still
He's
stemming
creepy as F.
from
Don't
clowns.
say it, Billy. Help you out.
Is
That's
that so?
poorly.
That's what it is. It's the petty vibe.
But most importantly, McDonald's did a makeover with their McCafe. I don't know if you've gone in. Well, you've certainly gone into a McDonald's recently, but as you know, there are more high-tech, modern type things, really leaning into the McCafe aspect of it, and a happy yellow and red clown doesn't really fit that aesthetic.
And there were no pedicure vibes because he wore large shoes.
They've done away with a lot of their playgrounds too. They caught a lot of shit. Super Size Me really brought about a lot of change.
Well, the playgrounds, I think, was because of snakes. That's why they got rid of the balls.
What?
Yeah, because snakes could hide in the ball pits. They had to get rid of the balls.
That would be terrifying. Just like I'm enjoying a nice day in the ball pit, and all of a sudden,
Yeah, that's a terrible. That's it. And now you're a kid. You're going to traumatize kids because you got snakes in the ball pit.
You know what?
That's bad.
These kids are so soft. We went into the ball pit all the time. Didn't come out with any weird diseases. Didn't come out snake bit or anything like that. It was just a good time.
speak to little Johnny in Iowa that's been scarred ever since he was 7 years old.
Well, you know what? Maybe natural selection got Johnny. How about that?
Oh boy.
That's right. If nature gets you, guess what that is? Natural selection.
Not if Ron McGill's around. You build a little nest and then you save little Johnny.
You're just
Put
in
a
a
camera
ball
to
pit.
watch him all day.
Natural selection. What do you mean?
Well, if it's a snake, that's natural selection. It's not like there was a murderer in the ball pit.
Yeah.
That's different, right? There's a
Not like a
murder in the ball
clown or
pit.
something.
Yeah, Ronald McDonald.
But like a snake, man, that's not my fault. That's nature.
Yeah.
I was actually just reminded about this researching Ronald McDonald. Remember when there were Twitter videos of just creepy clowns? Like that was a viral thing. Clowns would just show up in the woods. And so they kind of started phasing Ronald McDonald out.
Those internet pranks where it's like,
This just happened. Okay, I think Ronald McDonald needs a send off. Does he not? It can't be a quiet retirement like Michael Caine over the weekend.
Ronald McDonald got canceled. That's what you're saying.
The send off for Ronald McDonald appears to be he only makes one appearance, and it's at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I don't know if he showed up at the most recent one because in 2019 he suffered a horrendous gash. Had to be taken out of the Thanksgiving Day Parade on his leg. Hit a tree.
Suspicious.
did you know there was a Ronald McDonald movie? The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald.
Let's watch it.
I will. I shall.
Grid of Death?
Why would it be a grid of death?
How long is it? Is it like an hour and 45 minutes? A legitimate movie?
Well, I mean, hold on. Whose phone went off?
That's fine.
That's Greg Cody's phone.
Forgot to turn it off.
What was your guys' strategy in the ball pit? The only game you really play in there is just fully submerging yourself, right? So no one can see you. And then when they
Well,
try
you
to jump
throw-
in,
Don't you throw balls at each other?
yeah, if you have a friend in there. But I was just usually on the solo mission. So what you do is you get fully submerged, and then you wait till someone comes in, and you scare them.
Yeah. With balls flying off you all over the place.
According to Wikipedia, Ronald McDonald died in 2011, August 7th.
He didn't die.
Yes, Wikipedia.
He made an appearance in 2016. Was that zombie Ronald McDonald?
No, 2019, he said. right?
Ronald Carroll
No, that was the
McDonald, 2011, August 7th, aged 85,
Carol? He has a
Bothell,
middle name.
Washington. Did you know he was a janitor?
He was a creepy
Oh, wait,
janitor
no.
working in the facility.
No, this was a convicted
Around
child
kids.
rapist. I'm
Oh,
sorry. This is bad.
no,
What are you
okay.
doing? What are you doing?
Jesus Christ.
No, that's too bad.
Jesus.
That middle name was odd. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that Ronald McDonald's middle name was Carroll.
That has to be a fine on
What is the
principle.
fine? What is
I
the
don't know what
fine
the
for
fine
that?
is,
You
but it's just a
reading the
fine on
internet,
principle.
It's a fine.
Turning Ronald McDonald, the kid's mascot, into a convicted child rapist is a fine of some sort.
if the giant red clown shoe fits.
Some big shoes, man.
If you're like us around here, you sort of fell more in love with basketball when the 2010-2014 Miami Heat came to town, and a generation of kids in Miami grew up with that fun time where it's us against the world. Everyone is paying attention to LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh. Amin Elhassan has been a part of what we've done around basketball for a while, and while we make fun of his basketball opinions, people really value how he talks about basketball as someone who really understands basketball, and if you care about basketball, will teach you. Even though, the predictions might be funny and everything else, we've told you that knowledge of the game does not translate into knowing what's going to happen in the games. And so tonight, basketball starts again, and him and Tom are going to be doing a late night show. And if you want like really good stuff to teach you about basketball and what it is that you're watching, I'm promising you they're going to do an extraordinary job. I'm sure they'll be funny there as well. But basketball is something this show cares about, and Amin Elhassan has been in our world for a while, teaching us about basketball as a former Suns insider and somebody who really knows the game. So I wanted to ask you about two storylines headed into this season, not the normal ones that we go to. What is happening with the Phoenix Suns? They were right there, and they've got this center who's athletic and looks 40 years old but is 21 years old, and everyone saw, they're going to need to pay him because that and Booker with a little bit of Chris Paul gets you really close. Fun team, emotional team. Phoenix is in love again with its basketball team, and there is pressure to give him the world as a player who's very good, but the sport, I don't want to say it's moving away from him because it's never going to move away from him, and he's a very serviceable piece who will get a lot better. But do you pay him and commit to, okay, we're going, Ayton and Booker are our big two, and that's what we're going to try and compete with championships for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so basically what happened was they offered him a deal of $120 million over 4 years extension. He wanted the max, which is 171 in that neighborhood. So it was a $50 million gap in the money he wanted and the money that they were offering. I don't know how much of it is a referendum on the evolution of the sport, so much as it's an owner who's known to penny pinch. And, basically he told DeAndre Ayton, you're not worth the max. And so now Ayton's in a situation where he's going to have to go out and earn it by playing well. Now, the good news is he's really good, and Chris Paul has a track record of making big guys look really good. So chances are he's going to, absent injury, make that happen. But the interesting thing was the other thing the Suns were facing was they had to extend Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, who was also really important for them in his role as a 3-and-D kind of guy who fits perfectly, doesn't need the ball as much. They got him for $90 million, and I said, the first thing I said was, that's a discount. That player right now is a $100 million plus player, and they got him for 90. So the penny pinching, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't when you've got a guy who is a number one overall pick. And Dan, you could say whatever you want about the lack of big men in the league, but count how many big men can do what he can do.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it as any kind of disparagement. I'm just marveling at how quickly, we've gone from Andre Drummond and Hassan Whiteside. Not that he is those players. He's absolutely not. But just how quickly the game is moving toward the perimeter because that's where it's being rewarded. But I understand that he's a very versatile player for his size.
And not only that, but you can argue one of the biggest reasons the Suns lost in the finals was because they didn't have depth at center. Dario Saric, who is undersized anyway in terms of being a center, got hurt towards ACL in one of the first couple of games. And so it was Ayton, and when Ayton was out, remember they had Frank Kaminsky for the 1 second.
That was unbelievable.
It was the worst 1 second of basketball
I think we
ever.
all had the same reaction to, really, this is what we're doing in the third quarter of a finals game. We're launching Kaminsky into the game to see if he could get 2 minutes out there that don't slow everything down. But can you speak to the specifics of the penny pinching? Because this is your organization.
Yeah. So obviously I worked for the Suns for 6 seasons. I saw up close, and one of the things, I'll tell you a great story that relates to this, right? Because part of the reason why they didn't pay Ayton is because they don't have to pay him. Not right now, not at least. Next summer, maybe a different story. When we were in Phoenix, the year Alvin Gentry became head coach, midway through the season, we fired Terry Porter. Alvin Gentry's the head coach, and even though we didn't make the playoffs, we made a nice, strong push, and we all kind of felt great about Alvin's our guy. We're going into the 2009-2010 season, and Steve Kerr, who's the general manager at the time, goes to the owner, Robert Sarver, and says, these guys have deals that end right before the lockout, the impending lockout. We all knew that, there might be a lockout in 2011. So can we get their contracts guaranteed through at least that season? Just so that everyone feels secure that you're not going to be not making money when there's no basketball being played. And so Robert's response was basically, well, I'm paying all this money for Terry Porter. How do I know that this guy, Alvin, is the guy for the job? If you guys do a good job, then we'll see about it. So we're all right. So Steve Kerr goes back, tells the coaches, hey, this is the deal. He wants us to prove it. So, I think that's a fair request. 2009, 2010 starts. We're probably supposed to be 6 seed, 7 seed. That's what everyone's saying. The people who think we're going to make the playoffs. We end up being the 3 seed. We won 50-plus games, I think 55 or something like that. We had a great season. We go to the conference finals. We're a Ron Artest layup away from probably going to the NBA finals. It was a success by any metric. Steve Kerr on exit interview day, says everything's great. I think we're going to bring everybody back. Everything's fine. Goes into his meeting with Robert and says, well, you wanted the guys to prove it. They proved it. Now let's get their contracts extended through at least that lockout. And Robert says, I don't really have to do that. I don't. He's like, oh, what are they going to do if I don't? They're going to quit? They're not going to quit. So I'm not going to do it. And that's why Steve Kerr left. Because he gave his word about something, and then
that's unpleasant. But you've told in vague terms some of the stories, like, oh, these people don't handle business the way that business should be handled. That they're trying to get, what is that sound we had from the Phoenix City Commission meeting? Because they're trying to get they've got the emotion now behind them. I mean, because this is the way that you get arenas built. This is the way that you get taxpayers behind you, is to have the emotion of this team. But you're telling me that this owner is just going to squeeze every nickel out of it.
He has a reputation for doing that. And you're thinking about the city council meeting. They ended up getting the funding, by the way, and the new arena. The arena, it's not a new arena. It's a refurbished arena. It looks really nice. But yeah, no, he's a guy. If you remember during the lockout, he was joking about taking the mid-level exception and buying his wife a new purse with it. And that was one of the headlines that ruffled the feathers of the players, because it felt like very talking down to them and all. I think he thinks he's doing sound business strategy, right? By squeezing, right? But the reality is, because of the nature of the business, you really don't have the leverage to do that, because A, you're angering the agent, who represents a lot more than the guy you're talking to, and B, the reputation is out there. The reputation is out there that, hey, you're someone who is not as forthcoming with compensation as you should be.
I can't believe that we wrestled this sound away from ESPN.
Mr. Sarver has done nothing to improve this team. In the 14 years he's owned it, he's never funded or bought 2 or 3 key players, which make any sports team, professional sports team, successful or on the road to success. He's so tight, he squeaks when he walks. And you have been negotiating with this kind of person? Shame on each and all of you. And upon you, Ed, I thought your principles were higher and better than this. We are not in the business of paying taxes to support private enterprise, and especially not an entertainment enterprise. They can support themselves or fail on their own lack of diligence. Don't do this to us again, and make your considerations and discussions with the private sector public. We fund this city.
Thank you.
It isn't funded by private enterprise.
Thank you.
Greta.
Caesar Tovar over here. Love the line. So tight that he squeaks when he walks.
Yes, I did. That was fantastic. I wish I'd have said that.
Sarver, who are the cheap owners in the NBA? Mike, I don't know why Mike was texting me the other day that Fertitta's back in the game with cash.
Yeah, he's no longer the cash poor owner that everybody else laughs at. He made so much money during the pandemic. SPACs. He was first to it. Did you know that, Amin?
I did. Yeah.
He's loaded now.
SPACs. Tom told me about SPACs, by the way. He's Tom Habistro, who I'm going to be doing the show with tonight. YouTube.com/Levitard and friends. But just a quick Tillman Fertitta point. I told Mike this. Me and Zach Harper had to do a Rockets season preview from Houston. We went to their arena. They brought us players. They brought us a general manager, their coach. But one of the funniest things is when you're walking down the hallways of the arena, down by the locker room, they have this huge mural of the 2 championship teams of Houston, Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler stuff. Then they have another huge mural for the team that won like 27 games in a row with Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. And then there's an equally huge mural of Tillman Fertitta. Just him holding a basketball, him with his family members, him smiling, him at a podium. And I was just like, wow. Dan, can you imagine? Well, I guess that's a bad example. I was going to say plastering your face all over your building. Then I looked around the studio and said, yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. Ben Simmons. That is one of, if you were to say storylines Amin is most interested in here.
We waited till hour 2 of the show to discuss Ben Simmons practicing with a cell phone in his pocket. Oh, wow. Looking disinterested as all get out.
This is what I said he should have done from the beginning. I said in the NFL, when you're unhappy with your contract or your situation, you sit out. In the NBA, you show up because they realize very quickly this is bad. This is bad having him here. Tell him to stay away. Jimmy Butler taught us that. James Harden taught us that. There's many different ways to be uncomfortable and awkward, but the reality is if you make it uncomfortable and awkward, they'll either do a deal quickly or tell you to stay at home. And I think what makes Philadelphia a little different from every other situation where you have a disgruntled star is usually the disgruntled star wants to leave a team that's going to be bad when they're gone. Jimmy Butler left Minnesota, and they've been terrible ever since. James Harden left Houston, and they're in the middle of their rebuild. Anthony Davis leaving New Orleans. In this case, we got a guy, the team is a championship team. And when he leaves, there's still going to be a contending team. So Philly is really invested in, we've got to bring back people who are going to make our team better right now. But at the same time, he's 25 years old, so I need some stuff for the later as well.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think this is my theory. Daryl Morey is just waiting on Damian Lillard to say I've had enough. Damian Lillard is in Portland. He refuses to demand a trade. The Blazers refuse to trade him because he hasn't demanded a trade. It's a standoff happening. What Damian Lillard, I believe, is doing is waiting to see how this is going to go. Because if it goes well, all right, I'm fine. But if the bleep hits the fan, then maybe it's time to ask for something. So if you're Daryl Morey and you know there's a chance Damian Lillard could come out and say, I want to get traded, you almost can't trade Ben Simmons until that happens because you know that's going to be the best offer that Portland will get.
Can you imagine just watching? I'm sure you guys have seen this. It's getting more and more ridiculous. Damian Lillard was making shots a couple of feet in front of half court, just practicing them like you would practice from threes. Yep. He was just that far out. The symbolic idea of those guys being traded for each other when one guy doesn't want to shoot anywhere on the court and the other guy will shoot from everywhere on the court, and the idea that Simmons and Embiid are bumping into each other under the rim, and now the space that you'd have on the court is Embiid near the rim and Damian Lillard by half court. That's Daryl Morey's dream. That's why he took that job. That's why he ran away from Fertitta and China and everything else. And I thought he was going to do a musical play about, whatever, basketball play. And he ends up taking a great job because if Simmons can net you, we were just talking about that being McCollum, not Lillard.
It'll never be McCollum. And they made that clear when Shams Charania reported that they asked for McCollum and control of your draft over the next 6 years. Basically 3 pick swaps and 3 first rounders. And obviously that is a cratering type move, and Portland said no because the reality is they don't want that. They don't want any of these ridiculous trade requests that they're asking for. They're waiting for. There's no player who might come available on the market who's a better fit for Joel Embiid and the Sixers than Damian Lillard, and you know the guy's not happy. So I get where Darryl is coming from. If that in fact is what he's waiting for, it's like, how can I trade basically the best trade piece anybody could offer for Damian Lillard before he comes on the market?
Tell the people about what you're doing tonight. Is it just you and Tom? What time does it start? Are you waiting for games to end?
Yeah, so we're going to wait till the end of the game. We're going to have a cavalcade of guests coming in. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to box people in, but just we're going to keep it fluid and rotating and have some voices that you know and love. We're going to come on and we'll shoot the shit. It'll be about the games. It'll be about the start of the season. I think we're all excited. Basketball's back.
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about you guys having a late night playground where you can do some fun things that are going to entertain people, but also inform them, okay? Because
Right.
I'm telling you, I'm not ashamed to say this, Mike, because we've had this tension. God, Amin has fit so well into our entire universe. He has fit so well with these things. And for a long time, we were struggling doing this dance at the beginning because, unlike Cody, he cared about how to fit with the group. And he always thought when he was bringing basketball takes that he was ruining the fun. And we're like, no, we want all of these things. We want to learn under the circus tent. So teach the people some things tonight, because you guys can do a very smart post-game thing on YouTube that analyzes the games that can also be fun.
Yes, we'll have the fun, because I know a lot of the listeners sometimes they get upset or irritated when we stray too away from the fun and it's just straight sports analysis. So we're going to do it in a way that's a lot more digestible than just a lecture that you might find in other places.
With maybe 3 or 4 Trulies.